Now, oh geez, you're really coming close, aren't you? That's not our bird, by the way. That's a blow-in. That's not our bird. I did not.
So we're here at the Alice Springs Desert Park to see some animals, along with our shadows. The park is set in the West Macdonald Ranges just west of Alice Springs, an easy 10-minute drive, as well as featuring displays of many different varieties of outback habitat with the animals. There are also talks on things such as survival in the desert and the many uses of plants, such as for healing. Little finches. I can't see him very well. He's right in the sun. Well, there's that pin-tailed black cockatoo. Yeah. Hello guys. Is it nice there in the water? Just carry on. Go about your business. It's all good.
Welcome everyone to the Desert Park and up here to the Nature Theatre. My name's James. It's my job to introduce some of the feathered locals that can be seen around the centre. I'll give you some tips on how some can be identified and how some of them can survive in what can be a pretty harsh place to live. You'll probably know exactly who this guy is already. The good old Australian magpie. Who's ever been swooped by one of these birds before? Generally, most of the audience. It's the male magpies that swoop. Female magpies are staying close to their nests, and all that they're doing is protecting their family members. So if magpies are swooping, that means it's breeding season, they've got chicks, They've got eggs. Oh, sorry, mealworm landed in your lap. He'll find it. That means they're just being good parents. They keep anything they believe to be a threat out of their territories. So it's not just people, cats, dogs, other magpies as well. Don't take it too personally. Next time you cop a bit of attention from one of these birds, perhaps think about how good of a parent they're being, keeping animals that are, well, much, much, much bigger than them, well and truly away from their areas. So they do a pretty good job, if you ask me. There's a lot more pleasant aspects to these birds. They're not just swooping machines. They're great at problem solving, adapting to their ever-changing environments. They also have some of the most wide-ranging and complex calls in the entire bird world. Would you like to come down here, buddy? Can you give us a bit of a demonstration? Anything else? Yeah, very nice work. The raptor that we're going to have a look at is known as a black-breasted buzzard. Here he is. He's got himself a bit of a technique on how to break inside. So you can see the big feet and sharp talons. Instead, where is it, buddy? There's a few of them around you. You can pick any one. He needs to find himself a tool. You still have, there we go, there's one. Pretty simple tool, it's a rock. Can you face the audience, please? What we're seeing here is a incredible behaviour for a couple of reasons. We didn't teach him how to do this. His parents in the wild wouldn't have taught him either. It's an innate behaviour. They're born knowing how to break open emu eggs. So when he was a young fella, we got him a rock and an emu egg, put it in front of him. You in? Lovely. And he started doing what we saw then. There's two birds in the whole world that do that. This guy and the Egyptian vulture, all the way over in Africa, does the same thing to ostriches. These birds will spend their days, when it's not an emu's breeding season, looking for mammals, reptiles. I frequently see them flying over roads, looking for any morsels of roadkill that they can get their beaks onto. A pretty unique Australian bird, and a bit of an arid zone specialist as well. So Australia has 9 species of owl. This fellow up here is the most successful of the bunch. This little fellow is actually Australia's smallest species of owl. It's known as a southern boobook. You may know them as mopokes. This little fellow here loves using his camouflage to keep himself safe. Wonderful mix of browns, whites, greys, all through his plumage to make him, basically, when he's sitting as still as possible, not look like an owl. These birds will be found in a few habitats around the country, but one important habitat that boobook owls have adapted to is our own, towns and cities. They love hanging out where we do. There's a couple of good reasons for that. One, we like to have nice tall trees around our yards. These tall trees provide great places for this fellow to use his camouflage. You come over to the bench over here, buddy. Can you see me? Good boy. Good one. And so they have nice, lush places to keep themselves safe during the day. And of course at night, that's when this is going to be a tricky flight for this boobook owl because he's got a bit of a tailwind. Oh, there, good boy, a bit of a crash landing. We call them boobooks or mopokes because depending on what you've been told to listen out for, that's what it sounds like they're saying. So these vocalizations he's making now, these are just little contact calls. Probably pretty rare to hear these. The one you need to listen out for is that 2-noted call. They tend to start calling fairly early in the evening, so you don't have to stay up too late at all. Okay, you can go home this time, buddy. Watch out for that kite straight over the top. You can see him watching it, can't you? Yeah. He's thinking about going into the scrub. I want you up here. Not that way. Didn't want him going that way, but I think we'll let him go that way just for today. He has been swooped a couple of times by these kites. As I mentioned, they're not trying to hunt him, they just want him to go away. And as you saw, pretty good at it. So flying off to the side of the scrub there is pretty natural for him. That boobook owl loves to use his camouflage. A lot of ground-dwelling animals will utilise camouflage as well. It's actually probably one of the few defence mechanisms you have if you do live down on the ground, like this bird here. This is a bush stone curlew, also known as thick-knees. They're ground-dwelling. Like that boobook owl, they use their camouflage to stay safe. But what they do to protect themselves, is stay as still as possible, and that's the only way camouflage works. So in areas where they're a lot more populated these days, they're often known as nature's garden gnomes because they can stay so impeccably still, where their camouflage will even fool people. Once there was a pair of them nesting near our very large desert river, Avery, the one you can walk through, and they were about a metre off the path. Everyone kept walking past them. Isn't that right, Curlew? Now, so for curlews, their camouflage doesn't work anymore, so they can't stay still. Can you, Curlew? No. You have to run. Run, keep going. Don't watch that kite. Yeah, they're very slow birds sometimes. They're no road runners, that's for sure. That scrubland, again, like the boogle cow, perfect habitat. They like having a lot of cover. They feel quite vulnerable with this kite flying on above. We have our human guinea pig, or in this case, budgerigar, finch, cockatiel. Any of those species is definitely on the menu for an Australian hobby. So when she zooms about, have a look at her general body shape and wing shape. These can be good ways to identify falcons. Falcons always have what we refer to as blade-shaped wings. So you can see she's very streamlined, flies like a jet, but those wings go down to a really distinct point. All falcons have this shape to their wing, so it can be a good way to identify them. Australian hobbies. Nice, feet first, smacking that prey to the ground. Australian hobbies utilise their speed and agility. We're not actually sure how fast an Australian hobby can go because we've never actually recorded them easily. Now they are a pretty smart predator as well. They'll use all sorts of different tactics. Our budgie's wearing sunglasses, mainly because right now the hobby's flying right with the sun at her back, blinding her prey. They'll use the lay of the land around them as well. You can imagine scrubland, like off to the side. She can fly and dart and weave through there and then appear out of nowhere, flushing birds out of grasses. And they've also been seen around our towns and cities. They love hanging around towns and cities because we tend to attract all sorts of small birds to our areas. European swallows, they're a great example. We don't get any things like sparrows. Sorry, sparrows, not swallows. I think I was leading into a Monty Python joke there. Oh, she got him. There we go. Oh, that's some smarts there. Whistling kites are found all across Australia, and they hunt literally everything. Small mammals, reptiles. If they can get a bird, they'll get a bird. Lizards sunning themselves on rocks, stuff like that. So imagine that's a lizard. Well, he survived the first pass, didn't he? He didn't survive the second. So this whistling kite looks to the ground for its prey for anything. There's a lot more on offer down on the ground compared to the air. It'll catch prey like invertebrates out of the air, but most of the time they're looking for lizards sunning themselves on rocks, scraps of food on the bitumen, anything like that. Have a look at his tail. It's a long, round, paddle-shaped tail, very different to that black kite. Quite often, you'll see these birds of prey around the same areas looking for the same food. Bugs. They love hanging around fire fronts. Imagine a fire front. All that smoke and flame pushes hordes of invertebrates up in the air, and it's just easy to zoom on by, grab him out of the air with his talons. Now he's got one more trick up his feathery sleeve. That's the ability to catch fish. We do have fish here in Central Australia. Oh, sorry buddy, your fish is sinking. Oh, it was. Alright buddy, here's your fish. Very nice. So they can, at least he's knocked his fish onto the bank of the waterhole, and he simply comes on by, lands and picks it up. Places like Ellery Creek, Ormiston Gorge and Glen Helen Gorge. These are some of the permanent waterholes we have along the West Macdonnell Ranges that have gotten a little low recently because of the sheer lack of rain that we've had, but they very rarely dry up, and they're quite literally an oasis in the middle of the desert. But I hope you have enjoyed seeing some of our birds this afternoon and learned a thing or two about how they can survive out here. Enjoy the rest of your time at the Desert Park. Thanks very much for coming.